Alright, for those of you who missed class, I'm going to quickly run through the Michigan unemployment assignment, or for those of you that got stuck somewhere along the way. I will be running through this fairly quickly. Obviously this is a video though, so you can stop and refresh at any time to see anything that you missed. So first things first, we need to go to the assignment on Michigan unemployment. Most of you have probably done this already. We're going to open this Excel spreadsheet. And what you'll find in there is a long list of data. This is all the unemployment level data in Michigan since dating back to January 1976. And if you scroll down, you'll realize there are 428 months. I know it goes all the way down to 429, but remember the first line is just a label. So there are 428 months of data in here that we are accounting. And the whole purpose of this is to show how quickly Excel can calculate some things for us. So the first thing we're asked to do is find the average, in this case the mean average of unemployment in Michigan since 1976. Like many formulas in Excel, the name of the formula is just what you might expect it to be. It's average. So we hit equals and then we can start typing average and we see that there is a formula. Now this is just one way to get to it. There are other ways and I'll show those a little bit later. But we can double click on the average and then it's going to show us that we need a range of numbers. Well, I can actually just select all the numbers that I want to choose. So I'm going to highlight all the way down, all 428 of them. Once I've selected it, I can hit enter, and it will calculate that average. So the average unemployment since 1976 was 8.25%. Now I said there was more than one way to solve this. The second way would be to go up to this function key up at the button, function button up at the top here. It says insert function, so we click on that. What will show up are the ones that I've used recently. If you can't find the one you're looking for, well, you can simply type in average and do a search and it will find a bunch of different ones that you might be looking for. And of course each one, if average isn't the one that you want, you can click on it and it will give you a brief description of what the function does. But anyway, we want average. It'll bring up this window and it'll tell me which numbers do I want to average, and in this case I'm going to highlight again just the ones that I want, all 428 of them. And I can go back into this window and it actually shows me my formula result down here. But I'm going to click OK and it will fill in that data for me as well. So two different ways to do exactly the same thing. As for the average in the 80s, well, same formula. I'm just going to type it in and then I need to find the data starting in January 1980, and since I'm looking at the whole decade, I will drag down through December of 1989, hit enter, and I see it was 10.83%. Now notice we get this little error message. Excel is thinking, well, there's all this other data that is in here. You know, there's data from the 70s and from the 90s. Are you sure you don't want to include that? And no, I don't want to, so I'm just going to ignore that error. Same process then for the 90s, equals average, and I got to find my 90s. Start in January of 1990, select all the data all the way down to December 99, hit enter. And I guess the point of this, what we see here now, is that unemployment was a lot better in the 90s than it was in the 80s. And we can also do the same then for the 2000. So one more time, we're going to do an average. This time we're going to look at the decade, the first decade of this millennia. So starting in January of 2000, scrolling down through December of 2009. And we find that the unemployment during that decade was just over 7%, so not a whole lot worse than it was in the 90s. We can also use the formula to some formulas to find the highest and lowest of anything. In this case, we're looking for the highest unemployment, so we're looking really for the max. Max happens to be the formula. And again, we're looking at that same set of data, which goes from B2 to B429. And I'm actually just going to type it in because it saves me a lot of time trying to drag all the way down every time. So sometimes it's faster just to type in the cells that I want. And you can see they were highlighted in blue what data I'm looking for the max in. And it happens to be 16.8. The next question asked for when. And while there may be other ways to do this, I think the quickest, easiest way is just to hit Control and F, which is the find. Control F works in a lot of different programs, but I'm just going to hit Control F and search for 16.8. I'm going to find it, and look at that, it happened in December of 1982. So I'm going to put that as my answer. It was December of 82. When was the lowest? Same idea, except this time I'm looking for a minimum. So from B2 to B429 happens to be 3.3, and when I do a search for this one, the first thing it comes to is this 13.3. Obviously I don't want 13.3, so I'm going to find the next one, and I actually see that there are two of them. In February and March of 2000 we had 3.3% unemployment, which is ridiculously low. So 3.3% happened in February and March of 2000, and I'm just going to put February of 2000. If you remember back to your math classes, now this next question asks for what the median is. The median is just another form of average. If we were to take all the data, all those months, the unemployment rate in every single month, and line them up from smallest to greatest, the median would just be the one in the middle. So, what do you know? There's a formula for median. I just start typing in median, and again, it's just B2 to B429. My median unemployment was 7.4%. The mode, if you remember again from math class, the mode unemployment is the one that shows up the most frequently. This could be useful for different data sets. In this case, has limited use, but we'll calculate it anyways, and we'll see that it's 7.3%. The next one asks how many months had an unemployment level above 10%. So what we're really looking for is how many of these cells in column B are above 10%. We want to count up how many were above 10%. So we're going to do a equal a count if, and what that's going to do is it's going to, as this says right here, it's going to count the number of cells within a range that meet a given condition. So our range, which cells are we looking at, again is B2 to B429, and the criteria we're looking for is greater than 10. There's one trick here though. We really need, as you can see, we get an error if we just go with that. We really need quotation marks around the greater than 10. If we do that, we see we get 100 months. I'd like to show that one again using this insert function. So again, we're going to use the count if. Remember, if you can't find it, just type the count if there. The range was that B2 to B429. So you can see what all those different numbers were, and they keep going on. And the criteria then, I can just type in greater than 10 without the quotations, because it will automatically fill those quotations in for me. So notice how the criteria now has those quotation marks in there for me. And so it's 100 months. How many had unemployment, how many months had unemployment below 5%? Same idea, count if, the range B2 to B429, my quotation marks, and I'm looking for less than 5. And what do you know, it's 59.